These are June-bearing strawberries, and they just finished their 3rd year of production. And as the name suggests, they produce all of their strawberries in and around the month of June. These are 1-year-old strawberries that were propagated as runners off of the 3-year-old bed. And despite how lush and full and green these are, they are very overcrowded. And it is my fault that they're this overcrowded because I didn't properly renovate the beds at the end of last season. And as a result, I got very little strawberries off of these 2 beds. In fact, I got maybe 2 handfuls of strawberries. And the ones I got, they look beautiful, but I should have gotten a lot more. The process of renovation is about restoring the plant's vigor so that in the following season, they'll produce even more strawberries for you. And this is about heavily pruning back your plants, thinning them out, and giving them some fertilizer. So I'm going to show you step by step how I'm doing all of that. The first step is to cut the foliage about 3 inches above the crown, and to be very careful not to actually cut into that crown because that will damage it. And by cutting away all of this old foliage, we're removing like any potential diseased leaves. And this is going to signal to the plant to send out brand new, healthy green growth, which will then just create a healthier plant overall. You can compost all of the healthy leaves that you remove. Just be sure to discard in the garbage anything that's yellow or has like spots on it, because that could be potential disease that you would introduce to your compost bin. The next step is to find and identify crowns that need to be divided and to discard of any old woody crowns. So typically after about 3 years, the crowns will become woody and will be producing less strawberries. So this is a good time to get rid of those old plants and to replant the new daughter plant. And depending on how vigorous that main crown was, you may have multiple daughter plants attached to that crown. And they're easily identifiable because it'll look like 2 crowns that are pretty close together with just a space in between, as this one has. So we have the main crown and we also have the daughter plant. And when it comes to strawberries, they're actually pretty resilient. So I just dug around the base of the plant to get as many roots up as possible. When you're holding the plant, you'll feel 2 distinct crowns attached together, like at that soil level. So you want to gently pry them apart because you want to keep as much of that crown intact as possible with roots attached to it. You can tell which one is the mother plant by the size of the crown. You can see just how big that first crown was compared to this crown. It's about half the size of the mother crown. And another way to tell the older crown is by the color of the roots. They tend to darken over time. Now, if these roots were mushy, that would signal a different problem, potentially like a rot, but these are firm. So this just says that this plant has lost some of its vigor. So I'm just going to discard that old crown and replant the new one. And it's going to be replanted at the same depth it was before. You never want to bury the crown of the strawberry plant. You just want to basically put it at the soil level, just like that. And it just gives each plant more space, and it helps with air circulation, which will help to prevent disease. And then the last step is to give them some fertilizer. I like to use worm castings. It is an organic amendment. It is gentle. It is slow release. So this will be a perfect amendment for them for the rest of the summer. It will allow them to green up, send out some new runners, and then probably around the time I plant my garlic, so like early November, right before winter comes, I will give them another round of worm castings and then top them with some fresh straw. In the worm castings really well, this will start to break down the castings and start to give them nutrients. And you want to maintain the watering of the strawberry plants throughout the rest of the season. So I think oftentimes we think, well, it's not in production, so we can hold off on watering. You still want to maintain that water. You want to give them about 2 inches of water a week. When it comes to runners, whether it's in like a newly renovated bed like I have, or if you have a patch of strawberries and you want to root those runners, if you have space in the bed, you can just allow the runners to take hold within that same bed. But if you don't have space, like I don't have any more space in these beds, if I want to save the runners and maybe replant them in another bed, what I do is before snipping off from the mother plant, I basically put it in a little pot of soil. So these are pint-sized containers, and I just placed the crown on top of the soil and secure it in place with a couple of toothpicks. Leave it attached to the parent plant until it forms roots, because it needs the parent plant for nutrients. Once it forms roots and takes hold within its own pot, it can live as its own plant, and then you can snip it from the mother plant. I hope you found this video informative. Drop a comment below. Let me know if you're growing strawberries and what type of strawberries you're growing.